Hello and welcome to Got Something For Ya. You might notice something a little bit new here. We've got Cara with us today. How's it going, Cara?
Hello, it's good. I'm so excited to be here. This is so exciting.
We were just talking before the show. I don't think that I have podcasted with Cara since her very first podcast over a year ago at this point. So this is
Yeah.
super, super exciting. We will be talking about episode 7 of Survivor 40 Several. We've got double several today. I'm excited to get into it. Cara, from the top here, what did you think about the episode as a whole?
So I liked the episode. There was drama, there was like a lot happening, but Mergatory and like this like split and everything is never my favorite. So yeah. But it was
I
still
can
a good
understand
episode.
that.
I enjoyed it.
That's awesome. Yeah, and we will be talking about all of the splits and half of the people safe, more than
Mhm.
half of the people safe. We'll be getting into everything right now. So let's get started with post tribal. We see Andy. He pulls Saul aside. As we know from the last tribal, he was the backup vote, and he very much knew it. How do you think, or rather, what do you think about how Andy handled this coming back to camp?
I think he handled it well, and I feel like he was valid. He was like, "So you knew that there was a chance that it could have been me if Rome did play an idol or something." So that was valid. And I don't know. I felt like this whole conversation was like good. I think Soul handled it very well, and I think Andy did too. What do you
Yeah,
think?
I agree. I agree. I think that Saul, I think that Andy did a really good job of turning his bad position into a power position in a weird way. At least, especially talking to
Mhm.
Saul, because if you, I remember, he specifically said, and I have it written down here. I need you to vote the way that I expect the next few tribals. And Saul is sitting there being like, "Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely." And he somehow has Saul on the back foot when, in a weird way, you would expect that Andy would be the one on the back foot, considering he was just the backup boot. So I
Yeah.
thought that this was really, really good by Andy. I love the fact that he was not only like, "Hey, I need a lifeline," but he instead flexed his position into a power position, saying, "Hey, Saul, for me to trust you, I, I need the next few votes to go exactly how I expect. I need you to vote exactly how I expect," which I thought was really, really good on his part. And you have the
Yeah.
line right here. Gata said, "All right, we'll give up Andy." So Saul spilled the beans.
I mean, Andy saying like I expect you to do what I expect to happen in the next votes. Like I feel like that really could have gone either way, and like maybe you can't say that to everyone, but like
Hmm.
I guess it worked. It works for Soul, and yeah, and just Andy knowing that he's a backup plan. He was the backup plan, and that Sam and Sierra were so easily just like yes, like we'll do
Hmm.
Andy if anything, whatever. Yeah,
I could
yeah,
see why that's concerning for him. I could definitely see why that's
for
concerning
sure.
for him. And yeah, to your last point, I was the same way. I was very, very surprised that it worked out actually, because I feel like with the wrong person going up to them and sort of pressing them, being like, "Hey, I need you to vote exactly how I expect the next few tribals," can be the exact thing they need to hear for them to be like, "You know what? Screw you. I'm going to vote exactly how I want." So
Yeah.
kudos to him for knowing his audience here. We also get a conversation between Andy and Genevieve, where it's sort of it's right in the morning the following day. And how did you think? What did you think about that conversation? How that went down?
I also think that it went well, and I think that Andy is positioning himself well with Genevieve and Soul to have like that alternate alliance that I think would be loyal to him and want him around more than Sam and Sierra might want him around. So I think overall it was great, and I think like Genevieve has shown that she wants like that person. Like she had it with Rome, and then I mean it didn't work out with Rome, but like it could work out with Andy now. So I feel like she would be loyal to him.
What is with Genevieve in these chaotic players? I think it's so funny that she went from Rome to Andy. Was that funny at
Yeah.
all to you?
It was. And it's so funny because she's like so calm and collected, and she's like
Right.
every person she wants to work with is so chaotic, but
So
maybe that's
chaotic.
what you need.
What do you think that her? I mean, I was trying to think about it too. I said, is this like an intentional thing? Or are these just the people that seem to fall into her lap? Or do you think that it is, or do you think it's intentional?
I kind of think it's intentional. I feel
I
like
think
being
so too.
aligned with the chaos player is I think it's a good move because who's going to
Hmm.
expect it, you know? And I feel like the chaotic people also, maybe not always, but I feel like they do have like a sense of loyalty to someone that like does reach out to them and like shows like they want to work with them and like puts in the effort to work with them. So I feel like it's not like too crazy of a thing for her to want to work with them.
Yeah, and I think that they act as really great shields. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that that is probably the biggest thing that I see from working with someone who is a little bit chaotic. Just to throw some chats in here, Minnows, I think that you are absolutely correct. Saul is not a chaotic player, so for him
Yeah.
to hear Andy saying, "Hey, I want everything to go according to plan," it seems like that is exactly what he would want himself. Roy Jolly calling it out as well. Minnows, you are correct. And then one last thing on Genevieve here. Genevieve seems very opportunistic in a good way. I think we can definitely agree on that. She is really, really big on, oh, okay, this person's in front of me. They're trying to connect with me. Let me do the same back instead of really thinking too
Mhm.
hard about the reasons why she shouldn't. Um, then the next morning, first of all, I think it's really funny. They had a quick conversation about Sierra asking if Sue has ever played pickleball, and Sue surprisingly has not played pickleball, which
Yeah.
caught me by surprise.
That was so funny. I think the whole Sue, like, lying about her age and everything is just so funny.
It is hilarious, and I think it's funny because you have an actual 40-year-old in Saul communicating with her, being like, "We look good for in our 40s, right?" And I just think it's so
Yeah.
funny because Saul looks exactly like what a 40-year-old should look like. And Sue, look, people look, a thousand different ways in a thousand different places, but I think it's a little bit obvious that she is not quite 45 anymore. So
Yeah.
that comment about pickleball I found very, very funny. But then
Mhm.
we get to this conversation here between a handful of the women out on the island, talking about the idea of putting together a women's alliance. What do you think about this, Cara?
Like, it always starts out so strong and then it collapses so quickly. Like, it rarely lasts, a women's alliance, but, like, I feel like okay, so I feel like it could still potentially work coming into the next episodes. Um, Obviously, like, what would happen in this episode, like, it didn't really work out, but
Mhm.
I feel like it might have came into play with Caroline and Tiana's conversation later on in the episode. Um, but it would be nice to see it work out. So,
Yeah. Yeah, I was sort of thinking about this. What I think, like, not to sort of, foretell what is to come later in this episode, but I think it's really interesting because in this conversation of women, you notice who is missing: Caroline and Sue, the two
mhm.
people that end up at Tribal with Tiana and end up voting against her. And I wonder what would have been different if Sue and Caroline were in this original conversation with a lot of the other women, knowing sort of the
That
volume of how big
yeah.
this could be. What do you think? What do you think about that?
That's true. I didn't even realize that for some reason I thought Caroline was there for this
No,
conversation. So now that like actually changes everything that I was just thinking. But but
we,
yeah,
we
that is
we welcome change
interesting.
here. We do. Yeah.
I wonder if that would have changed the outcome of what Caroline and maybe Sue would have done at Tribal later on.
Right. That was
Yeah, I don't
really
know.
that really stuck out in my head. Minnows, I did notice this was not all the Fem players, true, and that stood out to her too.
Yeah.
I was really thinking about that because I guess other than Sue and Caroline, the only other woman that's not here is Genevieve. And I just think it's wild that it is almost all the women except for Sue and Caroline. And those are the two women that end up flipping on Tiana. So I thought about
Yeah.
it and I said, man, what would have changed if they were a part of this conversation? I do like that we got a flashback to the Black Widow Brigade. I mean, who could forget? I am like so close to saying that that is the last truly successful all women's alliance in Survivor, which is to your point before, like kind of disappointing because there's always conversation about it, and then it fizzles out as quickly as it's brought up. And I
Yeah.
mean, do you have any idea on why that might be? Like, what why does it keep happening?
I don't know. It just there's just like a curse on women's alliances, I guess. There can only be
I,
that one, and that's it.
Right. I mean, it is so strange. Anyone in the chat, give us your thoughts. If you have any thoughts as to why this might be happening and occurring over and over again, I'd like to hear your thoughts. In this case here, the only thing that I could really come up with was, hey, the two people that voted off Tiana tonight and didn't stick with all women were the two people not a part of this original conversation. Um,
Yeah.
Meadows has an idea here. I think it's usually because people have so many differences, it's hard to come together based solely on identity. That's true. And
That's
for what
true.
it's worth, we saw a version of that in 41 where there was sort of the sort of Black Island alliance that tried to come together. But for what it's worth, Deshaun and Shan could not figure it out. And sometimes it's bigger than identity. Um,
Yeah.
Moving along here, we get to the challenge. Now, I do want to sort of get the conversation started before we see all these lovely contestants here propped up on their positions, because we go in and we have a quick Matt chat where Andy talks about the fact that, hey, we got out the one chaotic person. It was an easy vote, consensus vote. Now things are going to get real. And Jeff reveals to them, hey, split challenge. This will be an endurance challenge. It's split. We have two groups of six. The person who lasts the longest wins immunity for their team. But the person who lasts the longest on the losing split of tribe mates is going to get individual immunity. Always a little bit convoluted these days. Cara, what'd you think about this?
I'm so okay. So I personally would have just rather them like swap tribes these past two rounds, not even
Mm,
merge at all, just swap and then merge at like the next vote and just start jury. I feel like
mm,
that's just what I would have preferred. But like
right.
I don't mind this swap and like how they did this. I think like these last two, like how they did it last episode and how
Mm.
this episode was, I think it was good. I do wish maybe it was a little more mixed up the split tribes.
Uh, I'll say, I mean, please, we got all of Tuku on one tribe
How does that
plus
happen?
Rachel. How does that happen? And I mean, if you're paying attention to anything online, you all know I am hardly online, and even I caught it. Christian Hubicki went on Twitter to sort of say how slim of a chance this truly was, and it was, I mean,
Mm.
truly fractions of a chance for this happening, which is just wild to me. If you're Rachel, what are you thinking?
Oh my God, I would be so scared. But like I feel like Rachel going at this point should never be what happens, you know? I feel like
Mm,
she's in a good like, obviously, it's scary if they really are super tight, but I feel like she's in a good position to, like, kind of weasel her way in to be like, I'm a number, like, pick me up, and I will be loyal to you going forward," and then yeah. So I feel like she could have been in a potentially good position.
right. And I sort of agree with you. And we will get into this conversation later, Kara. And I'm really, really excited to see what you think. But it's like,
Mhm.
what would have happened? There are a million ways. By the way, thank you, Minnows. I see you here. Clocked it. The outcome is 0.9%. Think about that. That is less than
Wow.
1%. Think about that. That is so wild. It is truly,
That's
truly
crazy.
insanity. Oh, yes. And Minnows, thank you so much. Minnows, you are like a third co host here. I also failed to mention the person going home is literally not on the jury. Now, this is with Love and Survivor and all that they do, this is so frustrating to me. Are you as
Mhm.
frustrated as me when it comes to this?
Yeah. Ugh, no, I think it's so unfair, like, if you merge, I just feel like you should be on jury. Just start the merge later then if they're not gonna be on jury. Like,
Right.
ugh.
Right. And look, we've already gotten it with Rome, where Rome got to be on the beach with everybody and sort of get to,
Yeah.
try his
And, like,
hand.
Why can't he get a buff? He merged. Give him a buff.
Right. The man went home with one buff and it was red. And that is
Yeah.
very, very sad. And then you have this round, possibly even more sad, where Tiana literally gets a merge buff, but does not get the luxury of sitting on the jury.
Yeah.
Again, I'm sure we will talk about it more towards the end, but that really, really grinded my gears. The second that he said that, I was sitting here being like, Jeff, you're joking. This can't be real. You cannot be setting these people up like this. This is not kind, Jeff. I want to see the same Jeff
Mm-mm.
that was ready to give away 18 eggs, just days ago. What's going on? What happened to that
Where'd
Jeff?
he
That Jeff
go?
was where did he go? That Jeff was generous, kind. This Jeff is like, yeah, you're not touching jury despite you having a merge buff on your head. Wild, wild stuff, wild stuff.
Hmm.
Um, let's see. Sorry, just screening some of these comments here. Um, yeah, here we go. This is one of the things as a relatively new fan that still confuses minnows. Pre-jury versus pre-merge. I promise you, it used to be easier. It
Hmm.
used to be a little bit more on the nose on when you were going to be making jury. Um, but we see that Kyle wins individual immunity, though he is on the losing tribe and will be going to tribal council. And I believe it was Teeny and Genevieve who stuck it out
Yeah.
for the other side of the split. And guess what? They get to chomp down on some barbecue ribs, some coleslaw, drink some beer, have some corn on the cob. What do you think about this reward?
I thought it was so funny that the reward was ribs. Like I felt like that was so random, but I'm sure it was really good. It sounded like they all enjoyed it.
It did. It did. I was sitting here personally for me, Cara. I would have loved ribs as a reward
Mhm.
because I don't know. I just love me some ribs. But I tell you what, I thought the same thing where I was like, okay, this is like very specific, but also like it feels almost out of nowhere. But
Yeah.
I was definitely feeling it. Um, what I wasn't feeling as much is sort of in line of what we were talking about before. Um, there are literally 7 people that are safe at this intersection here. And
Yeah.
again, to foretell what happens later, with Rachel receiving safety without power, that literally makes 8 people safe on at this juncture. I mean, is there something a little bit like weird about that as a longtime Survivor fan? I mean, just to see 8 people safe here, there's way more people safe than not safe, and it's emerged, and they're supposed to be what's going on? What's going on?
Yeah. No, it's just so weird, and especially, I mean, obviously it was random, but the fact that it was one whole like starting tribe that wasn't safe is just
Right.
crazy. I don't know. I feel like I don't know. I don't know. I don't really like this whole split thing. I wish that or like you know how they've done it before where like it's a double tribal, like that
Yes.
type of thing where not everyone is safe again, but yeah. It, it's very it's interesting.
It's very, very different. It's very, very different. And honestly, I mean, Minnows, you clocked it here. Teeny top 3 in both individual challenges so far. Shout out Teeny. You want to know what I
Keep
would have
doing
loved to
it.
see? I would love to see if Teeny actually won this thing. I think that Teeny and Genevieve actually got out squeaky clean. And I'm not talking about Genevieve from last week, who was genuinely squeaky clean while everyone else was full of mud. Um,
Yeah.
they got out squeaky clean because they don't have the moment where Jeff is, throwing an
Yeah.
immunity necklace on them. It's not as showy of a win, but they still come across as heroes to the rest of their tribe, considering the fact that they just helped everyone not go to tribal. I think they got off scot free here, and I would have loved to have some sort of extra bonus where we watch them compete to see who actually wins and sees who maybe has to get a little bit of heat under them.
Yeah, like, we don't know, like, who from the 2 would have lasted longer, and you know what could have been, like, maybe, like, a fun thing? Like, instead of
Mm,
hiding the advantage, maybe whoever was safe, who, like, lasted the longest out of the other tribe who was safe gets an advantage, like, that type of thing could have
you're
been
right
an
there.
interesting twist.
You are right there, or rather, I am right there with you. I agree. I thought the same exact thing. I was like, what if they made this more of in I wanted to say something to be earned, but I guess in theory they still technically earned it. But I see I'm
Mhm.
right there with you to actually earn it by being the single sole person to win the challenge and being like,
Yeah.
okay, you get to give this advantage to someone on the other team. And it just makes things feel a little bit more earned.
Yeah.
Roy Jolly. I love throwing in some different opinions here. And you were saying I like this split better than the
Hmm.
two tribal split. Okay, look, I could definitely. You know what? I don't know if I agree with that. What do you think, Kara? I want you to go first.
Hmm.
What do you like better, the
I
two
don't
tribal
know.
split or this one?
Maybe this one, only because the two tribal one feels a little mean when one person makes jury and the other person doesn't. That's so savage.
Okay, I forgot about that tidbit. Yeah, that is wild. Please continue.
And then I was just thinking, like, you know what they also maybe could have done is like whoever lasts the longest, like, so Kyle got individual immunity because he lasted the longest out of his tribe. But what if like he had to last the longest out of everyone to get individual immunity? And if he didn't, then
Mm.
like no one gets
Ooh.
immunity.
I see what you're saying. Yeah, that's actually really interesting to sort of be like, hey, if you want to be safe within your little pocket, you have to. Okay, I'm with you there. I'm with
Still
you there. I like
outlast?
that.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that's a fun little spin. And just to respond to you, Roy, I think remembering that, yeah, in a split tribal, one person gets jury, one person doesn't. I don't love that either. I just
Mm-mm.
think that what I don't love is not just half of the people being immune, but literally more than half being immune feels wrong. Like genuinely
Yeah.
feels wrong. I don't know if I'm the biggest fan of that, but at the end of the day, look, I do like what happened on reward here, so I'm excited to get to it. Just want to see some comments. Minnows just likes how they're totally split before tribal. Yeah, not too fun, not too
Yeah.
fun. And both tribes being present was fun. True,
That
true.
was. I did
I'm
like
with
that.
that. Yes, yes, I can co-sign that. Moving along here, we see. Did I go too far here? Um, we are off the challenge, and we are seeing the tribe that is not safe have to. I feel like we skipped because I feel like we see the reward folks first. But here
Yeah.
we'll talk about the folks that are not safe uh, first. So they are in major scramble mode, and there is
Mhm.
the obvious split, very unfair split on this tribe of having full Tuku plus Rachel, and we see some politicking here. We see Tiana talking to Rachel. We eventually see Gabe talk to Rachel. What did you think was going to happen here?
Well, I mean, I feel like what I thought would happen is where they would go to Rachel and be like, "We can like get this person out. Like we can get Gabe
Mhm.
out. He's a threat. Like join us and whatever." And like Gabe kind of did that saying like we can get Caroline here and be in a position where we need you and like we'll get someone else out. Um,
Mhm.
but yeah, I guess it like kind of happened, but like obviously didn't really matter in the end or pan out. And it didn't seem like it was going to pan out in the end anyway. So,
Right, right. And I just think that what I think is interesting is that Tuku is like such a secretly like under the first layer um scrambled tribe. I feel like it's not
yeah.
on the surface how much they do not trust each other, how much there are little factions within the larger group. I think that all this stuff is in like the third layer of their tribe, where there's someone like Tiana, perfect example. She's at the original sort of mergatory celebration, calling out Gabe, not realizing that Sue is not going to be okay with that. She is, trusting that there is a woman's pact on her Tuku tribe between her, Caroline, and Sue, when that's just not the case because Caroline and Sue are both far more loyal to Gabe than they are her. And I just think that
Mhm.
it makes this juncture honestly for me a little bit more interesting because while there is an easy vote, I think that in like amongst even the Tukus, they have to act like it's an easy vote because I think that they have created that mist amongst themselves. But in reality, there are so many little fractions where in this conversation here, you have Tiana selling Gabe under their whole entire tribe. I mean,
Yeah.
I did not know what I thought was actually going to happen here, but I definitely thought that Tiana was reaching Rachel in this conversation. I did. I did.
Yeah. Like they all like they all wanted to get one of each other out. Like you know that like Tiana
Right.
wanted to get Gabe. You know that I mean Gabe saying Caroline was kind of like a plot twist. I thought he was gonna say Tiana, but like you know
Yeah.
he wanted her out. But like yeah.
And then even
Like
this conversation here, just Tiana talking to Caroline, being, what do
mhm.
you think about this conversation? I actually think that this conversation, maybe more than any other in this episode, was the most, just like, maybe one of the most important conversations of the whole entire episode. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. Yeah, and this is why I thought that Caroline was in that conversation when they were talking about the Girls Alliance, and that's
Hmm.
why I was like why she was being like so like let's just have an open conversation. Let's just like lay it all out there and we'll talk about it. Like I feel
Hmm.
like that was like a good way to go about it. And I feel like Caroline handled this conversation very well and like having a Tiana talk and giving and then Caroline giving her opinion on why we should actually do this instead. This was like the conversation of the episode.
Yeah. I mean, truly. And let me tell you, I don't think
Mhm.
that there was any part of this conversation that was wrapped up in falsehoods or trying to get
Yeah.
one over on the other one or trying to, oh my God, if I get them to believe this, they will be putty in my hands. Like, this felt like a very real and genuine conversation between two people, which is why the ultimate fate that happened to Tiana, which, by the way, I mean, it's not very clear here. I was a huge Tiana stan. And that's what makes I think this was like a very tough episode for me because I was always a really big
Mhm.
fan of Tiana from episode one. Honestly, I just loved how I felt like she was very outspoken. I felt she was a very powerful woman out there, and I felt like she was able to speak her mind. And she also was very game smart. I mean, she even talked about from the very first vote with TK. She understood the dynamicism of that vote where it's like, hey, I can keep TK someone that I don't get along with on a personal level, but might be better for my game on the long run. Or I can stick it out with people that I get along with better, which can give me more opportunities to possibly wiggle my way further. And I've always really liked Tiana as a player. And in this moment, I'm gonna be honest, I felt something weird in the air. I cannot I cannot get over the fact that I was like, okay, these two people are being honest with one another. I feel like they're being honest with one another, taking each other
Mhm.
seriously, giving each other the giving each other the proper respect. However, there was just a weird, maybe it's like the music in the background, maybe it's just like the way that we were focusing on Tiana. I was sitting here being like, dude, why is Tiana getting this weird aura, this weird albatross like cloud
Yeah.
over her in this episode? And I couldn't really figure it out. And I think that what made me more confused was moving on to this
Mhm.
conversation here, which, by the way, um, Gabe totally playing up the villain side of himself. That said, I also find him so freaking funny because
Yeah.
just little moments like this are just hilarious. He is a little bit in the game, it's funny. I mean, Tiana used this word in her word association in her post game interview. She called him a little bit pretentious with the way that he plays, and I kind of see it. I think that he thinks that he is one step ahead of everybody. Um, but I'm sorry, this conversation here
Yeah.
was the one that was interesting to me, and I think it's
Yeah.
because Gabe did not throw out Tiana's name; he threw out Caroline's. What did you think about this?
I was so surprised that he said Caroline over Tiana because I feel like saying Tiana is so obvious, and I feel like ever since the like social hour where Tiana was like talking about Gabe in front of everyone,
Mhm.
that was the beginning of the end for her. Like I just knew like it was never gonna be good for her after that. That was just like that was just not good. So I felt
It
like
was not
the
good.
second that Gabe had the chance to like take her out, it was gonna happen. And so that's why this was so surprising that he said Caroline, because that came out of nowhere. Maybe they planned it, I don't know, but I don't
Right.
know. It was
We
weird.
It was very weird. It was very weird. And I think the big thing for me too is, like I said, I was having all these weird vibes about Tiana leading up to this. But at this
Mhm.
moment here was when I realized, oh my God, even Gabe is not throwing out Tiana's name. Why am I getting this weird vibe? And I think that it really confused me because I felt like there was a lot of undertones of like something bad is looming over Tiana. But then we get to this conversation and Gabe throws out Caroline. And I go, okay, so the names thrown out are Gabe, Caroline, and then the obvious choice of Rachel. How in the world is Tiana in a bad place here? But why do I feel so bad? Why do I feel like
Yeah.
like something is looming over her? Did you get that vibe too, or was that just me? Maybe I was tapping into the music. I don't know what was happening. I felt something weird around Tiana this whole entire episode. I swear.
Well, yeah, and especially, like, the clips that they were showing of her, like, things she was saying, like, about, like I forget exactly what she was saying, but I just remember points where she was saying how, like, she really wants to, like, be there and, like, make jury and how important it like, things like that. I was like, "Oh, they're, like, intentionally showing her saying certain things knowing that it's not gonna pan out for her." So, I thought that was interesting. I don't
Yeah.
know.
It
Yeah.
it blew my mind, and then sitting here, and obviously, looking towards the end of the episode, I guess it makes a little bit more sense to as to why there was this looming sort of negative energy over Tiana this whole
Yeah.
episode. Um, Roy Jolly, I'm not sure if you're saying that the Caroline was a credible fake plan or that Tiana would have been a credible fake plan, but I think you're saying that Caroline was a credible fake plan. Um, Tiana was the plan 2 weeks ago. This is true. I do think that the
Yeah.
prevailing thought was if Tuku were to go to tribal before they merged, that it would have been Tiana.
It was
I,
Tiana.
I'm
Yeah.
with you. I'm with you there, Roy Jolly. So you're right. Tiana being the plan 2 weeks ago, I feel like she would have been a credible fake plan, but he ended up going with Caroline, which is interesting. And I also think, sorry, I feel like we breezed right past it. Caroline like being so overtly nervous about Rachel threw me for a loop.
Yeah. I know, saying how she was, like, in the best position type thing. I was surprised
Yeah.
by that too.
Most
I didn't
dangerous
expect
player.
that.
Yeah. I was
Yeah.
like, where's this coming from? Like, what did Rachel do to y'all? Yeah, I guess she's very good at the puzzles, but that definitely threw me for a loop. Um,
That was
any,
surprising.
any last words about this hug here? I I thought that it was hilarious.
It was funny. Good TV moment.
Great TV moment. But I do think it really does point to what Tiana was saying about the fact that, look, I think that he has played this whole entire game as if he's 5 steps ahead of everyone, even when in
Yeah.
reality he's only a couple. And I do think it's going to catch up to him eventually. I do.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
going next, we are going to the folks at Reward. But
Oh,
considering the time of this episode, we usually take a quick commercial break before the challenge. But the challenge came so early in this episode, I think that now would be a good time to take a little ad break. We'll be right back after these messages.
Think you're the most now?
Uh, after these.
Think you're the most knowledgeable Survivor superfan? Well, you can put that to the test with our Fantasy Survivor game. Welcome to Bracketology, fantasy sports for reality TV. We provide fantasy football style games for your favorite shows like Survivor and many more. We also have bracket style elimination challenges. Set your picks once for the whole season to see how your prediction skills fared. And don't forget to check out the season extras like contestant info, where you can see all the bios of each contestant, and our scoring recaps that are published each episode. Download the Bracketology mobile app or play on your computer at fantasy.bracketology.tv. It's entirely free to play, and you can win some awesome prizes. Good luck.
There we go. Good luck. Good luck. And good luck was bestowed across this split of the team here. They are on reward. They're eating baby back ribs. How about it? And of course, with baby back ribs comes a power nap. And Andy was not feeling so tired. What did you think about this?
Oh my gosh. Andy looking for an advantage like that is just so Andy. Like, what are you
Yes.
doing? Why are you doing it in front of everyone? Like, why are you making noise? Be a little discreet about it. Come on. It was just
This
so
is
him though that like
yes.
it worked. It worked for him.
It totally works for Andy. It is totally works for Andy. I mean, it is just who he is as a person. I think that he is someone
Mhm.
where he has, in my opinion, some of the best instincts in this game. He knows this game so
Yeah.
well. He has it from a mental perspective. He has it down to a science. His action is awful almost every time. And it is a shame because he cannot help himself. And this is a perfect example where he is the one to be like, hey, something can be hidden on this reward. We've seen it before, we haven't seen it for a while, but there's always a chance. I want to take a look. And he was right at the end of the day. He was absolutely right. But
Was.
he got caught from the one and only Sierra. And good call on her for being a little bit out and proud about it, being like, "Hey, Annie, did
Yeah.
you find what you're looking for? What'd you think about that? Were you happy with her doing that, or did you think that put some heat on her?"
Um, I don't know, I feel like the whole, like, interaction just made sense. Like, I don't think that, like, people are now gonna be looking at Sierra and be like, "Oh, like, why did she call Andy out?" Like, I feel maybe Andy's gonna be mad about it, but
Mhm.
I feel like it was a valid thing to say.
Absolutely valid. I would say it's absolutely valid. To that point, though, I'm curious. Do you think that it's going to affect her and Andy's relationship moving forward?
I don't know
Is
if
this something that he's
maybe
going to
that's something
remember?
that's probably just gonna pile on to their already kinda shaky relationship. I feel
Right.
like yeah, it just
I
keeps
was thinking the
piling
same
on.
thing. Right. I mean, they've already had this mishap at Tribal where she realizes, oh my God, maybe I'm not as close with Sam and Sierra as I thought. And then here we
Yep.
are here. She's calling him out in front of the gang. It's like, hey, you find what you're looking for? I thought it was very, very funny. Roy here, I have to think or want to believe that Andy's sloppy play is strategy, lowers his threat. What do you think about that, Kara? I have a thought, but I'm very curious to know what you're thinking first.
I want to think that too, but I don't know. I just don't know if it is. I'd be very like I would love to see him like explain how this was a strategy all along, but I just don't know if it is. I feel like this is just how he is.
Yes, and I think there's something to having it happen organically, and then
Mhm.
him being smart enough to realize what's happening and being able to flip it into being something positive for him. I think that is happening.
Yeah.
I don't think that he doesn't realize how he's perceived. I also don't think that he doesn't realize how he can capitalize on it. But I think that him doing it intentionally, I just don't think there's any way that that's happening. I don't.
No, I don't think so. I think he is like socially aware. Like he like you said, like he knows what how people see him, and so like he can play it up to them and like
Mhm.
play it up to his favor. So yeah, like that's good. But I don't think he's like being bad at challenges or like looking for advantages like this. Like I don't know. I don't think he's
Yeah,
doing that on purpose. I think he's just doing it because that's just him.
I agree. I mean, perfect
Just how he is.
example,
Yeah.
Roy. Well, thank you, Lord, please. I think you're right a lot too, my friend. Um, but then we move on from Andy searching to this frame here, which is so interesting
Mhm.
because Saul originally wasn't even really looking that hard. I mean, looking that hard. I don't
Yeah.
think he was looking at all. And I think that Sierra bringing it up that hey, Andy's clearly looking for something. I think that
Gave him
it
the
made everyone
idea.
sort of go, "Hey, should I be looking too?" And I think Saul is definitely someone who was influenced by realizing that Andy is looking, and he's the one that found it. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it worked out for him too, because like, he was sitting next to that for so long and, like, didn't notice it, and
Hmm.
then all it took was Sierra to call out Andy, and then there he goes, he finds it.
What do you think about advantages being hidden on rewards again? This is the first time in a long time that we have an advantage hidden on a reward, and this is something
Mhm.
I will say I used to love it back in the day, but then I do think it got a little bit heavy-handed around like heroes, healers, hustlers, and but then it went away forever, and now it's back. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I like it, I'm happy it's back, I think it's a fun thing to add into a reward, so I like it, I don't mind it.
I
And
dig
this
it
one too
too.
was interesting. It was like a different twist.
Right, right. I mean, it's not something that can be an advantage for you specifically. Certainly, how you use anything in this game can be an advantage to you, but
Yeah.
it is a direct advantage to someone else. Frankly, someone on the other, you know, other side of the split. Um, did you think it was a good advantage? To remind everyone here, the advantage was either a block of vote or a safety without power. and it's something that you have to bestow upon someone on the losing tribe. What it reminded me of a little bit, obviously, Rachel did not have to do anything for it, but it's sort of like, am I wrong in saying that the extortion advantage was sort of like this, where it was gifted to Tony, but he had to do something for it, but it was an advantage. Am I wrong in that, or was it a disadvantage, and then he had to do something to not get a disadvantage? And it's okay if we don't remember, it's fine.
Mm, I don't remember that.
Okay, yeah, because I remember there was something close to an extortion advantage. Chat, help us out if you know, please. But just something being sent to someone cross tribes was interesting here. Okay, see, I can always count on minnows. The
Yeah.
extortion advantage made him give 6 fire tokens. It was bad for him. Okay,
It,
it would have made him
hmm.
unable to vote and compete at immunity. There we go. Okay, so it was the
Okay,
flip,
yeah.
but it was giving it to someone on another tribe. I think this is interesting.
It would have been interesting if they like somehow you had to like somehow work for it. I don't know what they could have done for that. Maybe like I don't know, influence the vote a certain way, but I don't even know how that really is even possible. I don't know. I
Right.
also feel like maybe it would have been interesting if it wasn't like you have a choice of two options. Like you just, it's just one or the other. Like you don't get to choose. Like just pick one.
Would it be picked by the person who is sending the advantage? So the person who's sending it maybe doesn't know the exact situation that the other person is in, and they have to pick for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, I feel like that would have been a good I think that would have been better because it gives the person on the other, like the person who found it power, a little
Hmm.
more power.
Right.
And then, like the person who's just receiving it just has to go along with it. Like they're getting this gift. They don't have that choosing power, I guess. I don't know.
Right. Right. I'm gonna throw this in for minnows here. You guys haven't said this, but I have been going crazy this week with people saying that safety without power has never been in play before. Jeremy Collins erasure. I am right there with you. I mean, come on. Yeah, winners at war. Jeremy Collins
Yeah.
used safety without power, and if you remember, everyone was pissed at him when he got back, despite the
Yeah.
fact that he was going to be the one voted off. Yeah, I don't know who's saying that, minnows, but they are absolutely wrong. You are right. Safety without power has
Yeah.
absolutely been used in Survivor history.
Do you think they're
I
gonna be
will
mad at
say,
Rachel? Sorry.
no, 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 please, no. I was going to go to you. I was going to say, do you think that this is you? I think this might be the best way that it's been used, in my opinion. I guess we only really
Yeah.
have a few data points, but I think that in this case, I do not think people are going to be mad at Rachel going back. What do you think?
I don't think so. I mean, like, how can they be mad at her? Like, she was the only person on that tribe of
Right,
a whole other tribe, like, and it was kind of
right.
clear that she was going to be the vote. I don't think they can be mad at her. I mean, maybe, I mean, I don't know. Unless they're mad that like they went through that whole thing and then like she found out and she didn't say anything, but like
I don't
I don't
think
know.
there I don't think there is a world where any I don't think there's a world in the Survivor universe where people are going to be this like that upset with her. There are a few
Yeah.
big differences between what happened with Jeremy and what happened with Rachel here. And I think that one of them is just where it happened in the game. We are not so deep into merge that that she is breaking the winning strategy of anybody. I think that with Jeremy, people literally could see the end, and I think that when you could see the end, you are a lot more frustrated when things don't go your way, and that's in fact what happened there. Jeremy was also a
Yeah.
part of plans that night, and despite it being a fake plan that he was a part of, it this just feels very different. Rachel was like down and out. She was with a completely different tribe. Her whole alliance was on the reward. This is her being able to make it back to join up with them. And I don't think that anyone on Tuku could really blame her. That's just my thoughts.
Yeah. And
Um,
it wasn't like and it was like given to her, Like it's not something she like I don't know. Like I feel like that also was kind of important. Like it was given to her. Like she didn't find it. She didn't like I don't know. Like it wasn't like her
right,
doing, I guess.
right. This is something that's new to me. Apparently, Rachel did tell Tiana before Tribal. I did not hear that,
Oh.
and I will say I have watched. I've watched the Rob exit interview and the Gordon Holmes exit interview. Um, I did not hear that, but I trust you, Minnows. Um,
Yeah. Why would
Very
they not show
interesting.
that? I feel like that's important. Oh wait, no, because then
Right.
we would know that she was given the
That's true.
advantage. So I
Yeah,
guess they couldn't.
it might have given away the surprise a little bit. And just one from Roy here. I love this advantage. Blindsided an entire tribe. Good TV.
Yeah.
I'm actually with you there. I do like that this did eventually end up literally throwing the biggest wrench in the plan here. But really quick, just to get Saul reading it. I just want to say I got so giddy when Saul got so giddy. Saul is like, you know, his reputation at this point is that he's the cool, calm, and collected guy.
Yeah.
His BPM doesn't get over like 60. The dude is so chill. It's like almost frustrating. Even how he was dealing with Rome through this season, I would not have
Mhm.
been able to be that patient. I think most people wouldn't have been able to be that patient. And even when he is like absolutely pissed at Rome, he goes about it in a way that is like very classy and chill and calm. And he doesn't seem like he's getting too worked up.
Mhm.
And he was reading this advantage and he was like giddy. He was using a whole like
Yeah.
announcer voice. I loved it. I don't know. What'd you think about that?
That was so exciting. It was so exciting for him. I feel like his, like, story arc, I feel like he's really, like, on an upward, like, turn right now. Like, he's really coming into his own now that
Yeah.
Rome's gone. And it is so funny how many, like, calm and, like, patient people there are on this season because, like,
Yeah.
between him, Caroline, and Genevieve, like, how
Right.
are they so calm? It doesn't make
Right.
sense.
Well, I think it's funny because if you really think about it, I think they got a lot of the chaos out early in
Yeah.
Rome. And honestly, even John, I think John was a little bit frenetic. He wanted to go out and change things. Kishan, TK. I
True.
mean,
They're just
all
getting
these
rid of
people,
all of the chaos.
all the chaos, it's gone, and now it's a little bit more calm,
Yeah.
which is really really interesting. Now, that's a big jump to tribal here. So just to land here for a second before you get to tribal, um,
Mhm.
I found it very interesting. I think the new kiss of death is, oh my god, I just want to get to tribal already. We got that
Yes.
voice line from
Yes.
Tiana, and I talked about right here on this podcast when we heard that from, I believe it was Kashan just weeks ago. He
Mhm.
uttered the line, "Oh, I'm just so excited to go to tribal," and he ended up getting tossed. Do you think
Yeah.
this is the new kiss of death?
Yeah, and that's, like, one of the things that I was thinking of, like, earlier when I was saying how they, like, showed clips of Tiana saying certain things. That's one of the things that, like, stuck out to me. Yeah, no,
Same.
that's never good.
It's never good. It's never good. Stop
Never
saying
good.
it. And it stuck out to me too, where I was just like, and this is what I'm saying. It really all grew and built to this. What the heck is happening here? Why are we
Mhm.
hearing Tiana say that she's ready for tribal? This just feels like a
Why would you
bad
want
thing to
that?
hear. Yeah, I
Yeah,
don't want
no.
you to say that. But I couldn't figure out how it would happen, to be completely honest. I couldn't figure out how it would happen because we literally didn't hear anyone say her name. It was
Yeah.
Gabe, it was Caroline, and it was, of course, Rachel. And I was just like, how does this turn on Tiana? Yet I cannot ignore what I'm seeing and hearing right in front of me. Why the heck is this woman saying this? This is the kiss of death. This is bad. This is bad. This is danger zone. I don't feel good about this.
Not good.
Um, Next thing you know, we are at tribal and we see our friend Rachel. Rachel, this is a smile of someone who's pulling out an advantage. And I just want to talk about this first. Um, Before we get to her reading the advantage, realizing the power, I guess letting everyone else know, revealing the power that she has at this tribal. Um, let's talk about the conversation at tribal.
Mm.
Did it feel like this was Rachel's time to go?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought yeah, I definitely thought that was where it was leaning towards the way everyone was talking, and yeah,
I
for sure.
I it's funny. So it's weird. I do ultimately think that it was going to be Rachel if everything stuck. However, going back and listening to how people were talking at Tribal, I do think that there was this weird, like, I don't know if it was mist, snow for Rachel, but a lot of people were talking in a very similar spirit to how they were speaking prior to to tribal, where they were sort of talking about the fact that we cannot go back with 5 strong Tuku. We have to vote someone else off. And I
Yeah.
feel some of that rhetoric was getting tossed in with the conversation at Tribal. I don't remember. I wish I wrote some of these things down, but I remember, both, just Tiana and Gabe talking about their plans. It just it made me feel like something else could have happened. But and what do you have here, Minnows? Yeah, Tiana talked
Yeah.
about how she knew Rachel was the vote, but planned to vote Gabe. Right. She did talk about that in her exit interview, and I feel like she was sort of preluding to this in her conversation at Tribal. But much like the meme, there's a meme. I'm always late to memes, so sorry if this is like old. There's a meme that goes around. I guess we'll never find out, right? That's a thing. Right? I think that's a thing. Okay. But then we see Rachel read to everyone the fact that, hey, I have safety without power. I am out of here. In this moment,
Yeah.
things got crazy. What were you thinking?
Yeah, like Tiana was talking and like, crying, getting emotional, and everyone else was kind of like talking. I think this was that point when everyone was kind of like talking. She's like, "All right, well, now it's time to like get into it." And like she started moving around and
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I feel
Yeah.
like I feel like it was probably not a hard decision for them to pick Tiana because like we said, like that was the plan like what, 2 weeks ago. But I do feel like if they could have gotten Gabe here, that would have been huge. I mean, I'm glad it's not wasn't him because that keeps my predictions intact. But I feel like that would have been a big get here.
Yeah, I agree. I think that would have been a really, really big swing that would have been, honestly, I think probably very beneficial because he is a little bit of a trickster.
Yeah.
That said, I think what I think is like very interesting here is the fact that immediately after Rachel gets up and goes, um, first off, we have this fun discovery by the folks over at the temp jury, where they realize, oh my God, one of us has sent something to Rachel. And everyone is surprised. Everyone is genuinely surprised. And then we have Saul, who is simply acting surprised. Was this fun to you at all? Was this like, Saul, just say something? Are you on one side of the fence or the other?
It was funny. I don't think he should have said anything like in that moment that it was him. And I feel like the only person he should tell is Rachel if he like wants to. Otherwise, I think he should have just told everyone at the camp that this was what it was, you know?
Sam, you are not the best actor on this season. Poker King Saul is. Yeah, I'm with you.
Mhm.
I agree. This is something that you want to leverage in a smaller group, not call out to everyone to be like, "Hey, I just did this
No.
thing. Look at how freaking cool I am. Look, you're gonna want to partner with me." Like, no, that is not the way to do it. That's not the way to
No.
do it. And I do like that he acted just as surprised here. What I want to see is what happens after. I want to know if Saul ends up telling Rachel because to me, that is the most optimal plan. Do not tell anyone else.
Yeah.
Tell Rachel and curry favor with her. Then you have this little thing, little pocket thing with Andy. You have a little pocket thing with Rachel. You're generally well liked amongst the rest of the tribe. I think that would set him up very, very well. But alas, we will only find out next episode. And for now, we move on to standing up and talking. Now, what I find really interesting,
Mhm.
I wish we had the frame photo of it, um, is when after Rachel leaves, Jeff asks Tiana a question, and Tiana is responding, and uh, everyone behind her has already started talking.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think that this was consequential. Do you think that them being able to talk before she's able to get started, and it seemed like it was like a healthy minute and a half even before she
Yeah.
was able to join in on the conversation. And she genuinely did not even turn around to be like, "Hey, I have my eyes on you all." She was just looking at Jeff, being very, very respectful to the fact that he's talking to her. Did that like how consequential was this?
Um, I definitely don't think it was good, but I kind of don't think it made that much of a difference. I feel like it kind
Okay,
of was, I think it was going to be said. Maybe it could have
interesting.
made it,
It's
I
tough
feel
to
like,
say,
well,
but I hear
it
you. I'm rocking
is.
with
The
your
flip
thought
there
here,
was
please.
Caroline, you know? I feel like if
Right.
anyone was gonna flip, it was gonna be Caroline. I feel like Kyle would have easily voted anyone else out over Tiana, but since no one else was, he just went with the group.
Well,
So
and
I
that
feel like
is
it was Caroline.
in my opinion, that is sort of what I noticed was like I think it was Gabe got to was it Gabe? Maybe it was Sue. Sue got to Kyle before anyone else, and I think that that was
Mm,
really, really bad. And I think that in a world where Tiana talks, and once again, Tiana not knowing the breakdown of things, Tiana not knowing there is a Caroline,
that's
Gabe,
true.
and Sue alliance, because I do remember at one point Tiana was trying to plead to a jury of Caroline and Sue right after they just talked to Gabe, and it's like it just it's too messy, and I think that when things get too messy, you end up sort of flowing back to what is comfortable and what you were most sure about, and I think that for all three of those people, it was their little pact. It was Sue, Gabe, and Caroline. I think that's what felt most comfortable to them. And
Yeah.
I think it's really what happened here. And regardless of I mean, Caroline sitting over there. Do you think that she really had a lot to think about? Do you think that that was a little bit theater? What's your thought there?
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like I don't think it would have made sense for Caroline to flip on Sue or Gabe. I feel like that just wouldn't be good. I do think she probably felt bad that it had ended up having to be Tiana because, like,
Hmm.
I don't know, she actually did seem like upset about it,
Hmm.
but I don't know, it probably wasn't too hard of a decision. She was probably set on what she was doing. It was probably just more upset that it wasn't Rachel going.
Right, right. I think that too. I think that too. I think that in her mind, she was like, I think for Caroline, she did not want Sue to go, and I don't think she wanted Gabe to go. So in my
No.
opinion, I think that it was a little bit of theater because I know that she knew that Tiana wanted Gabe, and I think that she did not want Gabe at all. And I think that in her head, she was like, well, look, if it's between you and Gabe, I'm gonna fall on the side of voting you off. I wonder what she would have done if Kyle would have been vulnerable, and if it was between Tiana and Kyle. I think in that case, I think that she would have voted off Kyle easily. But I think
Yeah.
that it was between Tiana and one of her close allies, and that sort of helped Tiana draw dead here. Um,
Oh, and you know what else it helps? Tiana
please.
going helps because she also was one of the people who speculated that Sue had an idol, and now that's
Oh yeah,
out the door. So now it's only the two of them that really know that she has it for sure.
that's
So
true.
that's
But can I
like,
ask you, is that a big thing for Caroline, or is that a big thing just for Sue?
I guess just for Sue.
Yeah, I mean, I look, I think it's a certainly a minor thing for Caroline. I think that
Yeah.
her being the only one with that information outside of Sue is a big deal. She has full control over it. It's not like she has to share that control with Tiana. So I'm with you there. Um,
Mhm.
I do think it's very sad that Tiana went out here. I'm just gonna say it.
Yeah.
I love myself some Tiana. It's a shame. I hope we get to see her again. Truly, again, such a tough woman. I think that it was very very sad to see her crying here.
Oh,
Any final
it
thoughts on
was.
Tiana?
It was so her like walking out and getting her torch and them just like flipping the camera to like all different people and everything. It was so sad and oh, I
It
feel
was.
bad.
I
And
feel
like right
terrible.
before jury, it doesn't get much worse than that.
Would you want to see Tiana on another season?
Hmm. I think so. I feel like she had a rough go at it this time where I would like to see her again, maybe not have such a rough path from the
I'm
beginning of
with
the
you.
game.
I'm with you. I'm with you. Well, look, Kara, thank you for going through the episode with me. We are now going to
Thanks
go
for having
through
me.
some social media here. Now,
Yeah.
this is usually headed by our lovely friend, Mr. Ali, but he is not here today, so we are going to take it over. But before we get there, I'm going to play a little ad for y'all, and we'll be right back.
Hi, Survivor Now podcast listeners. I am Katie from KT Designs, better known as Katie Tedesco Art on both Instagram and Etsy. I have been designing and selling Survivor products for over 7 years at my Etsy shop, including replicas like hidden immunity idols and Survivor trading cards with all of the players' stats on the back. I am so grateful for Survivor Now for giving me this shout out and helping me reach even more superfans. I love listening to their podcast. So if you are looking for some really unique reality TV products for yourself or to give a superfan in your life, come check out my Etsy shop at www.etsy.com/shop/KatieTedescoArt.com.
All right, here we go. Getting started here. We've got Halloween amongst our favorite survivors. On the left here, we have Rome saying CBS family in Atlanta. He's here hanging out with Davey, Felicia from Big Brother. We've got Josh, and we've got Tevin. That looks like an awesome crew. I'd hang out with them for Halloween.
And Rome's costume, perfect.
That's a great point. Rome is truly in character. He's just missing the stump now. He just needs to go all the way back to Fiji. He is literally Jeff. He just needs to go all the way back to Fiji and sit on the stump. What do you think about Annika's costume?
Very funny. Very funny. Like, the fact that Sam never tried pineapple until this is just crazy. And yeah, he thinks he never gave a chance.
Things he never gave a chance. I was going to say, I love the ad lib here, just with the things Sam never gave a chance. That is so funny.
So funny.
It's a really, really good joke. And then we have Rachel over here. My nightmares before receiving the advantage. Rachel is also Jeff. I would love to see Rachel and Rome have a Jeff off, whatever that looks like. I'll start brainstorming. Then we move on to some more social media content of some pre-mergers. Legendary Pondy crew posted by TK. We've got Asia shouting out her girls who are looking back after getting voted off. And we also have Asia, Annika, and Tiana hanging out at a bar, it looks like. Looks like they became really close friends.
I'm glad. I like seeing like people have friendships outside of the game. I think that's so fun. So
I'm right there with you. I think this brings me so much joy. But I gotta ask you a question, Cara. I need to ask you a question that I hope that you have the answer to. Where in the heck is John? Where is John?
Yeah, where is John?
Did John leave Ponderosa? Yeah. I thought they were all supposed to be friends. Literally, in the picture on the left, we have all the pre-mergers, pre-jury. I guess Rome's not there, but I'm confused. Where's John? Do you think John has got along with these folks?
Right? Like, I don't know. Like, does he interact with anyone at all? Does he even talk about Survivor? I know he was voted out first, but like, still.
Come on. I was thinking, okay, maybe John and Asia had a little fun thing because they got out back to back, and they could talk about podcasting. He's nowhere to be found.
Like, we saw like the way Jelinski was when he was first out. He became like a Survivor like figure. Like everyone knows him. Like that could have been John too. But John's MIA.
Right. Now we get to a little bit of social media drama between castmates here. Gabe, of course, the type of guy to rub a little bit of dirt in it. He tweeted and said, "Are they awake in Hawaii yet? Aloha, Survivor 47." Now, I don't know how many people you know from Hawaii, Cara. They are very Hawaii strong, and I know Tiana is a part of that camp. So she was not rocking with this tweet.
No.
She responded and said there's sportsmanship, and then there's this. Keep Hawaii out your mouth. Whew. Thoughts?
I don't know. I wasn't expecting Twitter beef.
Right. And I think it's again, Ali, here we go. Thank you for helping us come up with this. Got something for you, or rather, this tribe has spoken. Despite you being off today, can confirm I've tried his socials every week. Not a lot.
I wonder why.
Yeah, it's very, very. I just think. Look, I mean, these two very clearly did not get along out there on the island. I also think it's interesting in the Tribe has spoken. I'm sorry, in the exit interview for Tiana, she once again called him pretentious when given the word association game from Gordon Holmes. So Rome here just sort of weirdly enough playing the role of Rachel, hurting all the people that don't like each other and trying to get them to all get along. He says, no matter how dirty things get in the game, you should always respect your fellow castmates post-game, which I am with you. That is a good rule to hold on to. Now we're going to get into some questions, okay? One of my favorite parts, and usually I'm on the guessing side, but today I'm going to be polling you, Cara, because I am the de facto Ali. Now, we put out a poll asking, do you think an all-women's alliance will work? We have three options here. The first option is yes. The second option is probably. And the third option is nope. Please give me your answer and then give me what you think the audience answered. And maybe they're the same thing.
Wait,
yes,
probably. Can I respond to it first?
Absolutely, yes, please.
Okay, I'll give a reasoning. So I feel like it could work, but I don't think it could work with all of the women. Like, I do think the women that were in that picture, and maybe like Genevieve or Caroline, swap one of them out, but I don't think it's going to be like all of them. So I'm going to say, what was it, probably?
Okay.
And I think that's what the people said too.
Okay, let's see what the people said, Cara. We asked our audience, do you think an all-women's alliance will work this season? These are the results.
No.
81% said
Yikes.
no.
Okay.
Followed by 13% that said yes. And the smallest bunch, maybe that's Cara's vote there. We've got 6% that said probably. Cara, I'm with you though. I think I would have said probably as well. Because it seems like something that could work, right? And to Teeny's point, like it hasn't happened in so long. I think we're due for it. The women were up in numbers before they voted off Tiana. I don't know if that's still the case, but I'd like to see it. I'd like to see them try. I really would.
Yeah,
I really would.
I think it could work. Like I said, I just don't know if it would work with all of them.
Right.
Does that still count? I don't know.
We'll put you in. We'll put you in. No, you were correct. You got it. Now, our second question here is: what award did Saul's acting deserve? An Oscar, an Emmy, or a Golden Raspberry? Now, this one's obviously a little bit more fun. What award did he deserve?
Ooh, I'm gonna give him an Emmy.
Ooh, okay. What do you think the people gave him? Voice of the people.
Maybe the Golden Raspberry?
Ooh, okay.
I'm getting every single one wrong.
The people gave an Oscar to Saul. Hey, look,
was it that good?
Yeah. Look, I'm with you, Cara. I think he deserves an Emmy, not quite an Oscar. An Emmy.
No, an Oscar.
An Emmy is good. I would not deduce him to a Golden Raspberry. Okay, I think he deserves an Emmy at least. All right. Now, our final question here: which advantage would you have picked? Block a vote, or safety without power?
Oh, safety without power. And I think the people picked that too.
Far and away the prevailing answer. 90% said safety without power. Only 10% said block a vote. So you got this one right. Let's go.
Yay.
Let's give a round of applause for Cara. Let's go. Cara, thank you so much for joining me this week. This has been a blast. You have a lifelong invitation to come along to this podcast and join us any given week. And look, I might have to pop out on socials again because this was really, really, really fun.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun. I loved getting to talk to you about this episode. It was great.
Yes. And what a great episode we got to talk about. This was so fun. I really, really enjoyed this twist. I am excited to see what happens as a result of what happened this episode. But until then, we've got a bunch of stuff coming up on Survivor Now. If you are not already join our Patreon community. We are great. We've got a few great perks. The link is below. And look, it's not too expensive. We're not going to run you dry. We also have merch. If you have a little bit more in the pockets and you want to grab some Survivor Now merch, they are up on our site. Link is below. Please come and shop. We also have our social media pages. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on Twitter. You'll see some cool posts. We will always keep you up to date on the happenings of the Survivor Now community. Come on. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Cara, tell the people the thumbs up.
Thumbs up, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe, okay? Please. Also, listen to our content on Spotify, YouTube, wherever you're getting your podcasts. Okay, we're everywhere. Okay, we are Survivor Now. All right, come along. And we are a podcast for the fans, by the fans. I have been a fan of Survivor forever, and I am so honored and lucky to be able to talk about it every week here. Cara, any final thoughts?
No, this is just so much fun. Thank you for having me. Definitely, like and subscribe, tune in to all of the great shows, and
all of them. There we go. Well, thank you so much, folks, and you all have a great Saturday. Ta-ta.